Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги, друзья. Мы продолжаем наш сегодняшний день, посвященный гражданскому образованию в Азербайджане. Это у нас уже э, по счету, значит, примерно пятое или шестое, пятое еще, значит, мероприятие. И я бы сначала хотел немножко рассказать вам о нашей сети и о нашей программе для тех, которые еще впервые подключился сегодня к нашим мероприятиям. Во-первых, я хотел бы сказать, что это мероприятие проводится в рамках недели гражданского образования, который организовывается сетью гражданского образования в Восточной Европе. И одновременно, параллельно, начиная с 11 октября до 17 октября, проходит мероприятие в Азербайджане, в Армении, Белоруссии, в Грузии, Молдавии, Украине и в России со слоганом «Искусство жить онлайн». И эта наша сеть, она была организована в 2015 году, была создана фокус-группа гражданского образования в Восточной Европе. Она являлась частью сети, европейской сети гражданского образования. И миссия нашей сети является внесение вклада в устойчивое развитие гражданского общества в регионе Восточного партнерства и России через расширение сферы гражданского образования и укрепление потенциала организаций и экспертов, работающих в этой сфере. Целью недели является формирование уважительного отношения к провайдерам гражданского образования через демонстрацию потенциала и популяризацию лучших практик гражданского образования в регионе. И после всех наших заявок, те, которые хотели бы сотрудничать с нашей сетью EENCE, в дальнейшем могут подать заявку и путем подписания меморандума в дальнейшем смогут вступить в нашу сеть. И координационная деятельность сети, она осуществляется коалиционным советом, который избирается на 2 года. И я организатор мероприятия в Азербайджане. Это Ассоциация образования взрослых Азербайджана. И я Азер Рамазанов, я являюсь председателем Ассоциации образования взрослых и являюсь национальным координатором EENCE. Вот коротко о нашей неделе и о нашей сети. Сейчас я хотел бы передать слово нашему спикеру из Общественного объединения гуманитарных исследований Сеймуру Кязимову. Он сегодня будет нам презентировать альтернативный отчет об образовании в Азербайджане во время пандемии. Пожалуйста, Сеймур, вам слово. Извините, и мероприятие, и Сеймур Мэллин будет вести дискуссии и презентовать на английском языке. Правильно, да, Сеймур?
Yes, okay. Thank you very much, Azer Məllim. I am Seymur Kazımov. I am a journalist from Azerbaijan, but today I am representing Humanitarian Society Research Public Union because I am one of the authors of this report. Our report is in English, so that I don't have another chance to present it. If you have any questions in Russian or in Azerbaijani, I would be very happy to answer it. I'm not expert on educational, but I'm good at research and interviewing as a journalist, so that we used a lot of interesting tools for this report, and it is the first report in Azerbaijan because we have not had pandemic before, and unfortunately this pandemic had big how to say stress to Azerbaijani educational system, and a huge amount of problems appeared. I will just give brief information what we have. I will give focal points. Then we'll have discussions around our report based on your questions or your opinions. Let's ask to start.
Share screen eləyin.
Aha. Ben üzr istəyirəm, nədənsə share screen eləyə bilmirəm. Burada problem yarandı, bilmirəm doğrusu.
Bəli, Seymur müəllim.
Share screen eləyə bilmirəm, nəsə burada, bilmirəm nəsə bir.
Bayaq eləmişdiniz deyəsən share screen.
Bəli, bayaq eləmişdik, yoxladıq.
İstəyirsiniz mənə göndərin, mən eləyim.
Mən sizin elektron poçtunuzu onu tez göndərim.
Yox, elə burada göndərsəz gec açılır, hə? İstəyirsiniz hələlik danışın, amma yəni onu yavaş-yavaş həll edərik.
Bir saniye, elektron.
Belə elək də siz o faylı açın, açandan sonra bir daha share screen eləyin. O fayl açılandan sonra onu share screen eləyin. Ola bilər əvvəl görmür. Ya da mənə göndərin, mən eləyim.
Mən artıq sizə göndərdim. Aha, bir saniye. Deyəsən, share eləyə bildik. Məncə hamı, I have already shared my presentation. It is in English. And our report is education in Azerbaijan during coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic. In Azerbaijan, the first coronavirus infection was registered on February 28, 2020, and right after, Azerbaijani government has developed a package of measures to reduce the negative impact of COVID-19 on the national economy, entrepreneurship, and on the banking sector, and to strengthen the social protection of the population. But one day before, already the operational headquarters was established under the Cabinet of Ministers to prevent the threat posed by the pandemic and to implement preventive and urgent measures. On March 14, the operational headquarters under the Cabinet of Ministers of Azerbaijan began to implement social isolation measures within the country. It is the first step. Following the closure of classes in early March, the government's social isolation measures included a ban of weddings, mourning ceremonies, and other public gatherings, closures of cultural facilities, theaters, museums, cinemas, everything. Soon after the news of the registration of coronavirus patients in Azerbaijan in February 2020, parents decided the participation of pupils and students in secondary and higher education institutions on their own. Therefore, this operational headquarters decided to suspend education in all educational institutions in Azerbaijan from March 3-9 in order to prevent cases of coronavirus and increase the effectiveness of relevant preventive measures in this area. Of course, on March 9, schools or other educational facilities have not been opened, and this process continued more than a year. I would like just to give you statistics, how many educational institutions suffered from this pandemic. In Azerbaijan, according to Ministry of Education, there are 4,440 schools in the country fully, including 3,319 full secondary schools, 783 general secondary schools, 317 primary schools, 16 special schools, and 5 full-time evening high schools, including 60 high schools, including 50 lyceums, 15 gymnasiums, and 14 boarding schools with integrated training. The Ministry of Education reacted more quickly to the current situation and began to organize tele-TV lessons. However, one of the main challenges facing the Azerbaijani government during the pandemic was to bring classrooms up to new standards and to regulate the number of children in groups, so there was no choice but close the schools. Yes, the distant education, it was always in the agenda of Azerbaijani educational system, but our government and people was thinking about distance, like online classes from the distance, and they never thought that the pandemic will appear in Azerbaijan and how it will affect to the class. We will talk about the problems a little bit later. Now I want to say that according to the model charter of a general education school in Azerbaijan, the number of students in secondary school classes was at least 20 and at most 30. According to the norm adopted during the pandemic, the number of students in the classrooms had to be reduced to 10. And that's why there was a need to increase the number of additional classrooms and involve additional teachers. But before that, how educational system managed to involve all these students to the online class, because none of them has good internet. Not none of them, maybe part of them, okay. And how many schools situated in the villages or in mountainous area, because the quality of internet is not the same the whole Azerbaijan. Perhaps in Baku it is in a high level, but when you move to north or the west, the quality is decreasing. Also, another problem was that lack of computers, lack of mobile phones, because these problems appeared during the process, because not all students had computers at home. Not all students or the students' parents had smartphones. And without solving this problem, government decided to give such kind of education. Parallel, simultaneously, there were TV classes that broadcasted in nationwide TV channels. Yes, it was enough. How to say, quality in a high level, but these classes just gave overview for the students. But being part of the online classes, I mean everyday process, being part to, how to say, to make communication directly to the teachers, unfortunately, most of the students, I mean, especially school boys and school girls, they had big problems there. And also, you can see the statistics. The statistic about the virtual school platform launched on April 2, and having more than 1 million users had been published. According to the Ministry of Education, more than 4,000 secondary schools and 440 teachers were registered in the system during that period. Yes, there are big statistics, but in the real, you can see another type of the figures that a lot of students were out of the process, unfortunately. Also, last year, I would like to talk about the war that happened between Azerbaijan and Armenia, because last year, not only pandemic suffered Azerbaijani education, also this war also big part of this process, because when war started, Azerbaijani government restricted the internet. Let's start with that. It was a partially emergency situation in the whole country, and government decided officially to restrict the internet. When it happens, it means that no one has a chance to use the internet being part of the classes. And have a look, 54 educational institutions, 54 located near the front line, and they are full destroyed. During the war, more than 1,200 schools in the front line ceased operations. Students affected by the war was 3,100. 10 pupils were killed and 16 were injured. Also, 20 teachers was called to the army, and some of them also killed in the war. So also this war also, unfortunately, suffered Azerbaijani educational system also with the pandemic. During our report, we had chance to talk with the teachers from Baku, from the suburbs, from the regions, and unfortunately, all of them has the same, how to say, has the same level of the calls. For example, student attendance or attendance statistics are very low. In many cases, they simply confirm their participation by joining Microsoft Teams and Zoom, but they cannot participate in the class. Yes, they are registering, but they cannot be part of the class. Also, it is difficult to teach comprehensive lesson in 30 minutes. Also, it was how to say very difficult for kids, especially for first grades, to force them sit in front of the computer to take classes, and this also created a lot of problems, and it was, how to say, out of the control, this process also, and how to say, one 6-year-old pupil cannot manage himself or herself in front of the computer, because we have huge amount of cases about it. Also, there were a lot of problems with the class quizzes. Teachers could not manage the situation, who is copy pasting, who is not, because we had personal conversation also with the teachers. They told that we cannot control the process. But yes, we had a quiz according to our program, curricula, but we cannot judge who is the good, who is the bad at their assignments. So not just internet, as I mentioned, another problems also suffered educational system of the Republic of Azerbaijan. And at the at the end of, we had recommendations, and I would like to read it. In order to fight against infectious viruses, internal infrastructure changes in schools, strict control of sanitary and hygienic rules, school entrance inspections and other safety rules should be restricted. Also, I want to give one detail, one information, that education in Azerbaijan fully started at the end of September, at the beginning of October, especially in the universities. When students go to universities, they had to show their COVID vaccination passports, and how to check these passports. This mechanism also have not been completed yet, because there were huge amount of queues in front of the university, that students was waiting for an hours just to show their document and go into the class. And this electronical system also have not been completed yet. You are big cohort people, and you don't know who is infected there, and you do not have any chance, another chance, just to wait and how to say, to wait your turn to go into class, because there are two guys, they don't have any electronic issue, they are asking your document, they are asking your ID, and one by one. It's also another problem. When we finished our report, these problems appeared. Unfortunately, we could not talk about it in our report. In order to strengthen the transition to mixed education in the country, there is a need to accelerate the work on the basis of the state program. In order to accelerate the transition to a mixed form education, attention should be paid to increasing the technical base of schools, including pedagogical staff. Also, some of pedagogues, they could not use internet. This is another problem. So they could not use internet, they don't have smartphones, they don't have computers, they did not have any trainings, no trainings, they just, the process started, go and manage your class. This also took time. In order to expand distance learning opportunities in Azerbaijan, cooperation with educational platforms should be strengthened. Also, it is necessary to create a digital library of higher education institutions in Azerbaijan to provide free access to those engaged in scientific work. Also, this is also another problem. There is no all universities have online libraries. This is also another problem. Also, to carry out mapping in order to eliminate personal shortage in some subjects in remote rural areas, it is necessary to organize online classes taking into account the need in those areas. I already talk about the rural and mountainous areas because traveling a lot to these areas, and I know personally that there is no high-level internet. Also, I'm not talking about who has a computer, who has a smartphone. It's also another problem. It is necessary to implement a state program for the development of distance learning and digital textbooks. The concept of building relationships between the school parent and the student in order to improve distant learning and become more productive should be studied. Last recommendation, in order to increase the interest in education in the country, it is necessary to achieve exchange programs, conferences, or seminars throughout the country. As you see, all these recommendations as the result of the situation. Yes, we do understand that pandemic is not characteristic for Azerbaijan. It is a worldwide problem, but it was just possible to create internet infrastructure in the country years ago. It was possible to work on the distant education. It was possible to create online libraries. It was possible to train some teachers, even the parents, for online education. So that unfortunately, all these problems appeared during the pandemic. I hope future we do not have such kind of situation, and we will manage all problems. This is the end of our report. I tried just to give basic information, characteristics to my country, to Azerbaijan. If you have any questions, I will try to answer. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Semur Muallim, for this great presentation. And I would like to ask our participants that if you have any questions regarding our subject, our presentation, you could ask it directly to Semur Kazımov or write it down in the chat, and it would be in Russian, in English, or in Azerbaijani, as you prefer. Yani aziz dostlar, istəyirsinizsə o suallarınızı verə bilərsiniz. Rus və Azərbaycan dillərində fərqi yoxdur. Yəni təqdimatla bağlı hər hansı sualınız varsa. Təşəkkür.
Salam əleykum, mən Ramil İskəndərli. Mən təşəkkür, istəyirsiniz elə ingiliscə prinsipcə Semur müəllim başa düşür. I would like to thank Semur Kazımov for this presentation, and it was really broad and detailed, and especially touched the education system in Azerbaijan. But since Semur also is, as he said, from media sector as well, I want to know your opinion on disinformation during the COVID, like fake news about the coronavirus and fake news, disinformation, even some misleading information spread among population about the about this. So what was your opinion, and did you touch in your report this, or in the future will you research this? Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is really very interesting and very vital question, you know, that because as I mentioned, that pandemic, it is something new for the world, and last time it happened 100 years ago. It is some Spanish flu or whatever, but after 100 years we can call it is something new for the mankind. Of course, unfortunately we did not touch to the disinformation because our report full about education, just educational during the pandemic. Perhaps post-pandemic situation, yes, it is possible to add some fake news and disinformation. In my media experience, yes, of course, huge amount of bezels and fakes on a pandemic about, it is the basic about microchips, so that someone will manage you, someone will manage your how to say ability, your behavior, or someone want to decrease the number of the population in the world. This is also don't being part of this vaccination, but as you see, this information, how to say, where it decreased when public person, public people then vaccinated, and they posted their pictures, photos to social media, and shows that, okay guys, I am a little bit popular person in Azerbaijan, so that don't worry, it is just for our health and for our beloved. Yes, we could how to say manage this situation, but unfortunately this Bezos still goes around, not as a big like 6 months ago, but still now we are hearing that, for example, last time I heard that, are you vaccinated? I told yes. Okay, how do you feel? Can you, is there anything in your ability? I am fine, but I think that someone manage your brain. I don't know, I am here, everything is fine with me. Yes, unfortunately, this kind of process also happened. But generally, I think not just Azerbaijan, also world stopped this Bezos and fake news. And perhaps if we work new report post-pandemic situation, because we also need it, because not all the problems. Yes, educational institutions already open, but it doesn't mean that all problems solved. No. So I think we need new report, and then we will touch this kind of issues there. It is a really very interesting idea. Thank you very much for that. We will take it into the consideration.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Seymour. Thank you, Ramil. And I again ask our participant if they have any question regarding the subject.
Maybe questions, maybe opinions.
Yeah.
Share your opinions also, so that.
Okay. You can write it down in the chat in Azerbaijani or in Russian, or directly ask Seymour in English. It's already 20 minutes to 7, and after 20 minutes we have another event for today. Therefore, if you don't mind, we would like to thank you for this great presentation, and thank you. Goodbye. And let's focus on the next our next event, which is dedicated to data science in the career of the future. But again, I would like to appreciate our presenter, Seymour Kazimov, for his great input, for its wonderful presentation. Thank you, Seymour. Thank you. I also appreciate to our participants for their questions regarding the subject, and see you later. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. See
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
See you.